So, in a weird turn of events, Senator Josh Hawley, conservative from Missouri, and conservative Cory Gardner from Colorado are working with Pramila Jayapal, a progressive from Washington State, on resurrecting our economy. And they're doing it through a paycheck protection program. Now, what this does, as outlined in Hawley's plan, will cover 80% of an employee's payroll, meaning a company can keep employees on the payroll and not worry about having to actually come up with the funds to pay them. The government will. It's a really stark and interesting view coming from a conservative, especially one, like I said, from Missouri. Many people are kind of afraid of this approach because it mirrors what could be socialism. But it's not. It's really not. In the way that he outlined it, and the way that Jayapal has as well, is the government is what got us in this mess. It should be the government's job to get us out. And the only way that we can really do that is if the government takes on the responsibility of paying the payroll. Now, many businesses would be incredibly relieved to be able to keep people on and not have to worry about paying for their payroll. And I know, yeah, because they're getting free money, but it goes further than that, right? So when we look at the polls, people coming out of coronavirus and opening up, we found out that about 68% of Americans think we're moving way too fast. That's already unnerving at that. 50% of Americans say that they're willing to go back to a barber. 43% of Americans say that they're excited to go back to restaurants and will go back to a restaurant. Only 17% said that they will fly, which means that 50% of Americans aren't going to go back to a barber or a beautician right now. 67% of Americans aren't going to go back to a restaurant. And 76% of Americans will not go in an airplane. Will avoid the airports as much as possible. That's damning. Oh, look, I know many people who own restaurants, and at 75%, they would have a problem doing it. At 50%, at 60, at 45%, they can't do it. They can't continue to stay open. They have massive debts from loans. They have to pay distributors to bring in a product so that they can cook it and sell it. They have to pay their staff. They have to pay alcohol fees. They have to pay taxes. All of these things add up rent, and they can't do it on only 50% of what they were making. But they're going to have to, because people aren't going to go back out. And it doesn't matter if I believe in the coronavirus, you believe it, it's all irrelevant. What matters is the confidence of the average consumer. And right now we're seeing that at best, 50% are back in. In some cases, it's way, way worse. Gyms, about 19% of people say they're going to go back to the gym. That's awful. And yes, you're going to find places. Here in Kansas, for instance, that's pretty much it hasn't affected anyone. Everyone's, for the most part, doing the same thing they did before. There has been somewhat of a downtick in businesses that aren't doing social distancing or encouraging masks and things like that. Yeah, I know a few people. I know a person who does nails, and they said that their business has been down at about 25%, which should be kind of eye-opening when you think about it. Because where I'm at, we had a total of 15 cases. And yeah, they're still growing, and there still is some concern, but most people don't even know anyone that had it here. But places like California, New York, New Jersey, those people are definitely going to be affecting a lot of this. Now look, I'm not saying that we should be just generalizing protecting every business, every employee, because that's not going to work. Because of the places like Kansas and Nebraska, and now we should be prepared to implement something like that if it gets bad. But if a business is stable and an economy is stable, then it's fine. And I think the coronavirus has made us think about how we look at this country. We can't really look at it as one big country. We need to look at it like maybe, I mean, the easy answer would be 50 little countries, but at best, I would say we could even look at it at like 5 smaller countries and move from there and understand what to implement, what not to implement. And I don't think that for a majority of the country, this is something they even need to do. But in places like New York, yes, this definitely needs to happen. Anywhere that we see a downscaling of jobs, of the economy, this has to happen. And I mean, I am gonna definitely say that this would be the last thing that I would advocate to help the failing airline system. Because look, and believe it or not, companies like Boeing are already saying that they're gonna be broke again. I mean, they got billions, and they're gonna be broke again by September. Um, this would be the last measure I would do to support them. Is to say, well, we'll pay your employees, because that is going to be an industry that takes a major L. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of concert venues and stadiums and things like that all around the country. Those are going to need this kind of program. Again, it should not be a blanket program for every business. Some businesses and some economies don't need it, but a lot of economies do. And we should have that option. Now, I want to be clear, and I don't think that Pramila Jayapal or Josh Hawley, I don't think they're doing this for a moral reason. I don't think that, Josh Hawley doesn't strike me as the kind of person who, I don't think he's a bad guy, but I don't think that he's going to go out there and be worried about the people unable to pay rent. And I think Pramila Jayapal is far too busy dealing with, every other progressive thing she has to handle, as well as Cory Gardner, who, I think all of this was a strategy, is what I'm saying. And again, I don't think either one of them are bad people or good people. It doesn't matter. That's not my point. My point is it's a strategy. A lot of people are saying that Donald Trump is in jeopardy of losing the election this year. And it's namely because of the things that he's done and said. As we've seen with polls, the average American still fears the coronavirus. The elderly people fear it immensely. Those are the people who vote the most. I've said this I don't know how many times, but Joe Biden is gaining major support with the seniors, and Trump is losing it. You can check. I mean, Joe Biden in the best case scenario has about a 19-point lead with the seniors over Trump. At worst case, he has a 7-point lead over Trump. And again, that is Trump's big vote, is senior citizens. And he's losing it to Biden because Trump keeps pushing in on opening. And he does it in such a manner that I think it scares a lot of people. He said that if there's a second wave, we're not going to shut down. That scares a lot of people because a lot of people say the second wave is going to be worse than the first. And look, this first one, I mean, we're about there, baby. We've almost hit 100,000 people killed by this in 4 months. But he's afraid of messing up the economy. He's afraid of that happening again, and I get it. But this is where you would put a Josh Hawley plan into place. This is where Trump should listen to someone else besides a Mitch McConnell or a Lindsey Graham. No, listen to a real politician from his side. And that would be your answer right there. Do you think Trump really cares if businesses stay open or not? No, he wants the economy to look good, so he'll win. This is my point about strategy. It's all strategy for Jayapal, Gardner, and um, Hawley as well. And it's a strategy that Trump should definitely think about, because at the end of the day, if you're going to be voting between a person who is like Mitch McConnell and you're in a state where you've lost your job, unemployment is basically running out. It's not being paid into because we didn't protect people's jobs. And look, when people don't have jobs, they don't spend money. So businesses can't make money. So businesses don't hire people. Businesses go out of business. So no one's making money. Nothing is getting paid to the state. Unemployment goes away. And you have a failed community, essentially. And all of that because you have someone like Mitch McConnell who refused to fix a problem that he created. Maybe for the right, but he still created the problem. The government in general. And they should fix it. Would you vote for that person? Would you say, look, that guy did a great job representing me and my family as we wait 7 hours a day in food lines now? Or would you vote for a Josh Hawley who says, no, we need to make sure that you have a job, that you have employment and you have money coming in so that you can pay rent, pay for your bills, have food on the table, to continue to bring money into an economy that needs it. Who's going to get your vote? And I think that's how Josh Hawley is thinking about it, and I think that's how most smart, savvy politicians are thinking about this one. This is the best way to continue going, because even if it doesn't pass, it still looks like you tried your hardest to get it done, and you were representing your people, not just big corporations, not just for capital gains tax or, unemployment tax cuts and things like that. No, you're going to go to the table for someone like Josh Hawley if he's your representative. Anyone else, you probably start to lose interest in, as they don't represent you. So it's something that I think that Donald Trump should definitely think about. It's an issue right now. It definitely is, and it's going to be an issue moving forward. We need to fend off unemployment numbers as much as we can. And the idea of nationalizing payroll is kind of scary, but it's not as bad as what a lot of people are going to make it out to be, or even what people say it's going to be. And I've heard people on both sides. Trust me, Democrats hate this, and so does Republicans as well. Republicans are calling it communism. This was a way to bring in communism. No. Government, according to Hawley's plan and to Jayapal's plan, government would only be inserted to cover payroll. That's it. They don't get the profits from a company. They don't have any other control. It's just to cover that 80 to 90% of payroll. That's it. So it's none of those things. It's a way to stabilize and to rejuvenate our economy. And I wish there was more bipartisan support on bills like this that are actually there to help Americans, instead of the bipartisan support on things like NAFTA and TPP and the Patriot Act and getting into endless fucking wars. But anyway, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this. Anyway, you guys have a good weekend and enjoy Memorial Day.